Hello, everyone. I'm Tazro Ohta from the Database Center for Life Science. Today, I'm going to talk about Sapporo and the implementation of the GA4GH Workflow Execution Service. Before starting my talk, I would like to thank all who support this project, especially Hiro, the main developer of the project. And I would like to thank the organizers of this BOSC for giving me this great opportunity. It is really a shame I can't meet you in person again this year, but I hope we can have a big party next year. Okay, so let's start with the background. This is BOSC, and you may know there are many data analysis workflows published and shared as open source. So you can use any of them, but you may need to do something before you run it. You need to install a workflow runner. You need to connect a runner with your computing cluster. You need to edit the input parameters to put your data and workflow. And you may need to edit the workflow itself for your purpose. If you are familiar with the language, this will be very easy. But the problem is that there are many workflow languages out there. If you find a workflow you want to use, but if it was written in a language you are not familiar with, what do? This is the problem we had, so we had to make a solution. We have been developing Sapporo, which is an implementation of the GA4GH WES standard. WES is something like workflow as a service, where you can post a request to run a workflow. The current version of Sapporo supports multiple workflow runners, including CDW2, Nextflow, Cromwell, and SnakeMake. This is a diagram of the inside of Sapporo. Sapporo has a browser-based GUI, which is called Sapporo Web. It is implemented as a JavaScript single-page application and hosted on GitHub pages. Once you register a WES endpoint on GUI, you can send a request to the API layer, which is called Sapporo Service. The service runs a workflow runner, and the runner runs the tools of the workflow. All these components run in Docker containers that you can easily deploy with Docker Compose. This is the screenshot of the Sapporo web. Here you can see the endpoint that supports multiple runners, and you can register a workflow in any of the languages. By using Sapporo, you can run a workflow of different languages in the same place, same interface. So, all the problems are solved? Of course not. Now, we do support the installation and deployment of runners. We do provide the REST API as a common interface of different languages. But yet, we have issues in parameter setting because languages have different ways to specify the parameters. We also have issues on file dependencies because some languages expect a file with relative file path. There are more small issues on developing WES for multiple languages, and we want to fix them, but we can't by ourselves. So here, I would like to give some requests to the communities for better workflow sharing. When you write and share a workflow, please mind your workflow is valuable and everyone wants to use it. Follow the language's best practice. And please avoid implicit requirements such as local dependencies. And the workflow should be self-contained. File dependencies must be resolved by remote URLs. Otherwise, one needs to attach many files to the post request. And sharing your workflow with example data will be really, really helpful to understand your workflow. When you develop a workflow language, of course you can, or you are a maintainer of an existing workflow language. Sometimes it's very hard to inspect the given workflow definition to extract the required input parameters or such kind of the information. So please provide a command line inspector, which takes the definition file as input and returns the input parameter schema. Ideally, input parameters should be represented as structured data with type annotation. And also, it would be a good idea to have an option to pass input parameters via JSON or YAML file. And that's all. Thank you for watching and welcome any comments or suggestions.